President Joe Biden signed a bill passed unanimously by Congress. He signed it today, making Juneteenth the 12th federal holiday in the United States. This is the first additional federal holiday since the 1980s. Kind of crazy to think about. I do want to bring in Pastor Darrell Scott. He's the author of Nothing to Lose, Unlikely Allies in the Struggle for a Better Black America, to discuss this. Pastor Scott, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So this is an interesting topic, I think. There's a couple of different perspectives to look at this. First of all, Congress voted unanimously to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. Obviously, Juneteenth, most people know this, I think. It's when the slaves in Texas heard that they were free men. This came 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Is this a good thing to make this a federal holiday? If so, why or why not?
What people don't know is that actually this legislation began during the Trump administration and was advanced and crafted by members of the Trump administration. I was involved in it at that time. Darrell Smith, I think, wrote the policy. And it was something that President Trump was going to do. Remember when he came back and had that rally, and it was on June the 20th, but he was going to have it in Tulsa on June the 19th, on Juneteenth. He was going to introduce or present the legislation then. It was all planned, but it was such a hoopla by the Democratic Party and by his opponents. And it was around that time when the riots and different things were going on that over George Floyd, that because of the negativity surrounding his participation in this Juneteenth event, he decided to table it. But it's not, Joe Biden is simply signing off on something and once again taking credit for something that really Donald Trump deserves a lot of credit for.
Right. And I think it's an example, too. Once again, the Democrats are being hypocritical because the Democrats want to celebrate this day, and it is cause for celebration. I think there's really no argument to be made that it's not. But the Democrats, at the same time that they want to celebrate this, they demonize Abraham Lincoln. They demonize, they don't want to talk about the Emancipation Proclamation being something that came from Republicans at the time. Do you believe that the Democrats being involved in this, voting for this, President Biden signing this into law, is this being done in good faith? And when I say good faith, I mean we want to celebrate that our nation, which was participating in a great evil, triumphed over that evil and course corrected? Or is it something in bad faith where they want to act like this is something that we currently suffer from?
It's politics, pure and simple. A number of members of the Democratic Party were aware of the fact that President Trump was going to introduce legislation regarding this, and they were determined to oppose it through negativity in the public space. But they're doing it for politics. They've got their eye on maintaining, securing the black vote, and they want to rack up as many as what they consider to be accomplishments that Joe Biden can point to or that the Democratic Party can point to in trying to keep that racist narrative alive and keep the Republican as the face of racism in this country and use it for them. They don't care about the people. They don't care about the celebration. It's all politics right here. That's it, pure and simple.
Well, that's interesting that you said, I mean, obviously I agree with you that the Democrats are trying to secure the black vote. They're fundamentally insulting to black Americans. I mean, we know Joe Biden is the one that said during the campaign that if you don't know if you're voting for Trump or for me, then you ain't black. So assuming that every black person thinks the same way, which is insulting and demeaning. But will something like this, will signing this into law, making Juneteenth a federal holiday, will that actually secure the black vote for Biden?
No, it won't. And that's what he thinks. He thinks black people are a monolith, but it won't do anything. Let me tell you something. If people got upset when President Trump said it, black people weren't paying any attention to Juneteenth prior to President Trump going to have his rally in Tulsa on that day. And then the uproar began. Oh, wait, Juneteenth. Oh, that was the day that they might have looked in an almanac or something and figured it out. Listen, I'm black. I've been black for 62 years. We weren't paying any attention to Juneteenth. Most black people didn't even know anything about Juneteenth. And then when President Trump said, hey, I'm the one that made Juneteenth popular, they got upset, but it is the truth anyhow. And this is barely causing a ripple in the black community right now. I mean, they'll talk about it today. They won't even talk about it tomorrow or the day after. It's not, if it gets you a day off of work with pay, then fine. If it doesn't, they don't, that's all it is.
That's pretty
Nobody's
funny, Pastor. That's very funny. I mean, like I said, I'm not opposed to celebrating America triumphing over evils that we've participated in when we have improperly applied our founding principles, which we have, obviously, of course, especially in the sense of how our nation has treated racial minorities. There's no question of that. But one of the things that I always think when I think of days like this, Juneteenth, for example, is that this is what makes America exceptional, because what other nation in the world has come from such error and such sin and been able to actually create a situation where we're in now, where everyone is equal under the law? That, I think, is cause for celebration.
You're absolutely right. And America as a nation, even though we did participate in that heinous activity known as slavery, that institution, it was for less than 100 years. And in comparison with any other nation that practiced slavery, we did it, and it was controversial from the very beginning. There was an anti-slavery faction in America from the very beginning, and that anti-slavery faction ultimately prevailed. And for that, we need to congratulate and celebrate our nation in endeavoring to live up to the principles that it was founded upon.
Well, I think that's where it's incumbent on us, probably, meaning conservatives. It's incumbent on conservatives to make sure that this new holiday is not co-opted for politics, is not co-opted by the radical left, is not used to advance their racially divisive message, but it's used to actually celebrate our nation for the triumphs that we have achieved, because it really is. I mean, I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud of what we've achieved, what we've overcome, and I feel like our country can face anything and overcome anything because of what we have done in that area in the past.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me. Thanks.